should Brian Daboll be coach of the year after the Giants clinched a playoff spot?
We had this conversation where we kind of did like a March Madness bracket, but for coach of the year. And we all decided to give the coach of the year to Nick Sirianni. And we had valid reason behind that. Eagles were and still are the best team in the NFL. However, I have had a change of heart because it should get to a point where we just don't give the award to the best team, from the best coach from the best team. For me personally, there has not been a team in such a long time where we see the roster and we see the talent on it, and it's limited talent, that has reached this level of success and this level of overachieving. And now I use those words very particularly because last season, the Bengals were not a team that most did not expect to have the success that they did. No one had them going to the Super Bowl prior to the season starting. Maybe a few had them going to the playoffs for sure, but no one had them going to the Super Bowl and being as good as they were. In this situation, but at least with the Bengals, you had talent there. Jamar, T, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, of course, the defense on the other side. Here with the Giants, there is limited talent. Dexter Lawrence is a savage for sure. McKinney has been hurt, but of course he is a savage as well. DJ has been excellent this season. Saquon has been excellent this season. But outside of these guys, and I'm blanking. Leonard Williams, thank you, of course. That's the one that I was really looking for. Outside of these guys, there's not many other guys you look at and really they move you. Brian Daboll has brought the most out of these guys. The fact that they don't have a true wide receiver one, and I'm chatting here about Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James, it's a testament to what Brian Daboll and what he has done with this team. He has truly brought the best out of Daniel Jones. He has turned him into a top 15 quarterback this season. Over the last month, he's been a top 10 guy. He has been that great, both passing and rushing, not doing more than what he's been asked. But as well as that, he has taken control of this offense and as this team as a whole. He has signified himself as a leader, and that is in due part of what Brian Daboll has come in and wanted to do with this team. He believed in Daniel Jones. He believed in what this team could do, and they overachieved more than any other team in the NFL. He deserves to be the coach of the year.
It's almost like you took my notes and just copy and paste it because I feel the exact same way. If you take away, just give it to the team with the best record, no matter what, he's the coach of the year. It's Brian Daboll, because it's kind of hard to go back months and be like, what was this team really like? I think I had the Giants maybe like 5 wins, if that.
I got called crazy for saying they'd win more than 7 games.
For sure. I thought that was a dream to have 9+ wins, let alone get into the playoffs, because I mean, coming into the year, you have a new head coach, you have a new GM, you have a quarterback who's on the rocks, you have no talent receiver in tight end, you have Saquon coming off a banged up season, his least efficient season of the year. So when you're looking at this team, it's like, where's the strength going to be? How are they going to win games? I mean, you could point to the defensive line, but how many teams are really going to go to the playoffs because you have a bad offense and a good offensive line, and a good defensive line, and that's really it. I mean, that's not really happening at all in 2022. And in the offseason, you brought in this new regime at GM and head coach, but they didn't have any cap space. They had to cut James Bradbury because they didn't have any cap space. I went to look at their best signings, right? I was like, who did they bring in this offseason? I don't remember. I went to gmenheadquarters.com.
Dory Jackson was huge for them.
Adoree Shoot was on that list, but they ranked their 5 best offseason moves. One of them was re-signing their long snapper. One of them was signing Matt Breida, and the other one was signing Tyrod Taylor. More than half of their moves, best offseason moves, according to this Giants website, was backups and a long snapper. I mean, that's the situation this GM and front office is brought in to do. Like, they did have 2 top 10 picks for sure. Kayvon Thibodeau, and home run. Evan Neal has struggled, but tackles, usually struggle. He was a great prospect, so I do have faith for him. But the fact that they were able to come in and turn Daniel Jones around, right? I know you were higher on him. You thought there was always this possibility, but I mean, completing over 67% of his passes, top 10 in QBR. And while he hasn't blown you away in terms of yards and touchdowns and all of this, he's been great when you needed him most. He has 4 fourth-quarter comebacks, 5 game-winning drives, and he actually has the lowest interception percentage in the entire NFL. So when you're looking at these guys like, 4,000 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, all of this, Daniel Jones, at least right now in this offense with these weapons, isn't going to give you this. But the fact that he's able to do it in the biggest situation, I thought Minnesota was his best game of the season. The fact that he put himself in position to win that game, let alone, obviously Greg Joseph goes and kicks a 60-yard field goal. They probably should have won that game, right?
Only the Giants, really.
Only the Giants. But the fact that he's been able to turn Daniel Jones around, also get some injury luck as well. Daniel Jones' first 3 years missed, 3-4 games basically every season. This year he started every single game. So the fact that he's been able to, one, stay healthy, credit Daniel Jones, obviously working on his game, but Brian Daboll being able to come in, and that's the one thing you're going to look for, right? When we talk about defensive coaches, it's can you turn around your side of the ball? Now, offensive coaches is can you get the most out of your quarterback, regardless of whatever's around them, can you get the most out of it? And you look at Brian Daboll, there has been no coach, and I don't mean this with any disrespect, there has been no coach or no team that I think has overachieved more than the 2022 New York Giants. This roster across the board coming into this season, it was really hard outside of defensive line and running back, who obviously has been battling injuries, to look at who's the strong point. How are we going to win these games? How are we going to outmatch teams? Where's going to be our advantage? To me, the Giants had it damn near nowhere on the roster. And they've been able to turn it around, go into the playoffs first time since 2016, I want to say 6-7 years. They could throw that boat picture out, go and fucking sink that shit with Odell on the boat and all of that. So shout out to the Giants, man. Play Minnesota first round. Who knows?
Who knows? Plus 4,000 odds. Hey, throw $1 on it. Win 400.
The last 2 games by Nick Sirianni, I think, are the reason why he's not coach of the year. Not winning those games without Hurts, I think, puts a little bit of a stain on Sirianni. He does have overwhelming talent, and then you have a great quarterback as well. You're not able to win games when you have a backup. And the Saints game was just an abysmal offensive performance all around. I mean, it was Minshew, but it was this offense and things. I mean, sometimes Minshew there was nothing there for him to have anyway. The coach of the year for me is Brian Daboll or Kyle Shanahan. And
I'm with you.
Kyle Shanahan, I lean towards him due to the fact that in the offseason, Trey Lance is the quarterback. He gets injured week 1. It's the end of the season for him. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, and he does what Jimmy G does. He plays efficiently. He gets hurt now. And you're starting the last pick in the draft, and you're having success. You can argue Brock Purdy, statistically, is having more success than Daniel Jones. Now, obviously, the weapons on San Fran, there's an abundance of it, but the fact that he has a quarterback that was the last pick in the draft playing at this level, he should be the coach of the year. And the Niners are not far off from being the first seed in the NFC. If some things go their way this weekend, they can secure that spot. So we're talking about Shanahan, who's had to deal with 3 quarterbacks. Some injuries to Daboll as well. Not Elijah Mitchell got hurt. We forget about that, and they traded for CMC.
Amazing trade.
So they were banged up at certain parts in the season. For him to overcome that, I feel like I have to give him the coach of the year. And Mike Tomlin, with what he's doing, has a serious case as well. But that doesn't undermine what Brian Daboll has done. We saw versus the Colts, they're one of the better defenses in the league. Daniel Jones, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. On the ground, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. Daniel Jones has earned the right to be the Giants quarterback moving forward.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. And there are not many quarterbacks I can think of that survive a GM change and 2 coaching changes, 3 coaching changes if we add in Daboll. Pat Shurmur was fired. Joe Judge was out with Dave Gettleman. Now Brandon Bean and Brian Daboll show up.
Joe
Shane. And it just turned around the Giants. Daniel Jones, a lot of the flaws in his game was able to get coached out of him. And I think it's an example to stay patient with players who showcase talent. And bringing in the right coach can change a player's career, as it has with Daniel Jones, and save a player's reputation, as it had with Saquon Barkley. The stock on him wasn't high before this season. Brian Daboll comes in, and a lot of that changes. And he surrounded himself with experienced coaches, Mike Kafka being the OC, Don Martindale, who is one of the most respected defensive coordinators in the league, being his defensive coordinator, and what he's done with this defense being blitz heavy, having the front four that it has, the Giants have turned around, and I think they're in a good position for the future because you can win with Daniel Jones, and you have talent on defense. You have an offensive line that's improving. If they can hit on a receiver in the draft and maybe sign a Jacoby Myers in free agency, I mean, now the Giants can be a team that you're looking at and saying, you know, they have a lot of things going right for them.
In the best case scenario ever, and Davante Adams leaves, or if Davante Adams leaves the Raiders, the Giants have to be suitors to be in that conversation. But, of course, that's best case scenario. On a lesser scale, I'm sure the Panthers really would love to keep DJ Moore and make him an integral part of their plans. But if they realize that that money might become tight, the Giants have to be in that conversation as well. They need to be aggressive. They were aggressive with the wrong talent in Kenny Golladay. And that's something also that does not get spoken about. They have a guy in Kenny Golladay who's making $17 million a season, who has become irrelevant to this team. We don't even mention his name when we talk about the Giants because of how garbage he's been for them since joining. And they've still made it work. They definitely are going to be aggressive this offseason in trying to acquire a receiver, whether it's going and trying to make a home run splash and bringing in Davante, a home run splash in DJ Moore. But in the draft, at the minimum, that first-round pick needs to be a wide receiver. We've seen quarterbacks elevate to a different level when they get a true wide receiver one. Daniel Jones has shown he can be this Giants quarterback for the future. Get him a true wide receiver one, and things become fun in New York once again.
And you probably can't even release Golladay yet. If you release him this year, it's about a $15 million dead cap hit. You save about $7 million. No one's trading for him, obviously, so you might be stuck with that number as well. And same thing with Davante Adams under a huge contract. So but yeah, $40 million dead cap for the Raiders. So I think it's a outlier.
Fair enough, but at the same time, is Davante Adams going to want to be on the Raiders next season?
No, but he would probably have to take a huge pay cut to get off. You know,
would he?
Well, he'd be a $40 million dead cap.
Okay, got it.
He'd have to either crazy restructure his deal or I don't know how they would. Really
the Raiders are not in a bad position. I don't think Davante Adams is gonna willingly.
He just loves Derek Carr,
and he's closer to home, being in Vegas as well. So that's another reason why he could stay. But that idea came to my head because yes, it's out of conference. The Giants definitely, I'm sure, would love to be aggressive in trying to be on the wide receiver market. A guy like Tay would just completely change how we view the Giants, especially in a stacked division like the NFC East. So that's the reason why it entered my mind even at all. But of course, once you bring in the contract and things, it gets dicey.